There's probably still not there, but I'll set it up so that when they're here, don't have to set it up. All right, so for now, it's just me and the recording. And okay, and then the only other thing would be, I want everyone to find their email from, so that you can open up. Not email, class file, so you can open up the Padlet. Okay, so we're gonna head over to the Padlet. And be ready to go. If anyone didn't finish putting their stuff up on the Padlet last time, please do so. Otherwise, here's what we had done. We had worked on artboards and creating separate artboards. I think I see a lot of different screenshots, so I think you're probably there, but in case people don't have it, then go ahead and do that. Get your links set up so that you it's time to go. It's good. Okay. You'll sign in and get your name tags. That's when I don't see names, I know that a signature does not happen. Manuel, did you sign in?
Yeah.
Got there? Oh. Your name tags.
I scribbled myself.
What's that?
I scribbled myself.
No, it's all right. Just usually that when I don't see a name tag, I notice people haven't signed in, but in this case, you had signed in. So there you go. Rebecca.
Hi, Diana.
All right, and just moving these things around a little bit. And I was asking everyone to go and get their Padlet set up. I'll put the link in here, but I'm gonna have to copy that again because the chat kind of appears from scratch for people the moment they arrive. So you'll see it. But then when other people arrive, they won't see it. So I'm putting it there.
I bookmarked it.
Good. Yeah. People who are old hat at this thing of being my classes already know how to do that, but
Yeah.
just in case.
And I stack my programs so they're,
All on top of each other.
and I just moved my toolbar to the left because I think it might be easier switching back and forth between Bridge and Photoshop.
It might, yeah, I don't know. People get accustomed to different things. To me, that every time I get to someone's computer who has their bar on the left, it throws me because I'm so accustomed to having it at the bottom. But what I do is I just hide mine. And so in the Mac classes I teach, I just don't have it at all. Barbara, and
Well, I was looking for how I could rearrange the icons, but
yeah, so let me just, while we're waiting, there's one person needs to show up really quickly. This is just a Mac thing.
hi,
Everyone
bud.
needs to pay attention. But I'm just showing something here in my real computer, not here. This here for Mac people, this takes up a lot of space and you don't need to be seeing it all the time if you're comfy. It's just if you're comfy with Macs. You could go to your settings and hide the dock. So, oh, this is my older version, but it's okay. I can go to the dock and menu bar and just say automatically hide and show the dock. So what happens now is I have that much more actual
Space.
space to use. And then whenever I need the dock, I just put my mouse there and it appears and it goes away. So it just gives you like an extra inch in a laptop and a small computer. That's a lot of space to waste, right? And then you don't have to have it on the left or on the right. You just don't, like my Photoshop could now be going all the way to the bottom. And then when I need it, I do like that. I use it and I move away and it goes away, right? So anyway, that's just, I don't do that here because I'm also teaching in that classes and that it gets confusing for people who are new to computers to suddenly not see their dock. But yeah, if you're comfy enough with moving your things around or whatever, you might want to try that before ahead of moving it to the left or something.
Well, what I want to do is I've got my programs on the left and you on the right.
Mhm.
And so, but Bridge and Photoshop are over on the right. So it
Yeah.
would be easier
Yeah,
if they
when
were
you have
direct.
one screen and trying to juggle everything at once, it isn't that easy. You're
Yeah,
trying, doing the best we can with what we've got, and yeah, it works out. Being on one screen, trying to do Zoom and Photoshop and Bridge is, yeah, almost like one too many. All right, so I guess I'm still sharing here. Let me stop this share. So hi, Bud, and hi, Barbara. Nice to see you. So I'm going to link again, put in the link for the Padlet there again, so you guys can just click on it and have it ready to go. And I asked you guys that you remind me, sometimes I keep teaching and I kind of forget to say, make a screenshot and put it on the Padlet. And the other day, by the time I remembered, I went and I already saw that people had been doing it. So just remind me so that for those people who aren't doing it, I can remind them to do it. Just if anyone goes, put this on the Padlet, I'm gonna go, yeah, or nah, not yet, or wait until we finish this. But just verbally, those of you who remember to do it, remind me, because I'm on to the next thing, teaching you something else, and then I forget that, oh yeah, at the end of the day, I need to see if you did it. Right? So that's good. Hey, Pablo, nice to see you. All right, so ready to go? You're not ready to go. Are you gonna use this computer? Then you need to open Photoshop and Bridge. But yeah, go ahead and double click on that. Double click on that, yeah. Oh, so that you can get to the end. Just double click, open this. Yeah. And then over here, you'll have the tab. That way you're ready to go. Tab that is now it is. And now go and open Bridge. Photoshop, Bridge. Photoshop, Bridge. Okay. So, we have been using Photoshop again in ways, for those of you who this is your first Photoshop class, again, I'm kind of moving through some more advanced things, which is why some people who have taken Photoshop come to this class and told them, hey, I'll teach you new things. But once again, I want to let you know that this isn't necessarily the place where you will learn the basics of Photoshop, just things that are not normally taught in the regular Photoshop class, and that apply in particular, as I said, not just to web design, but in general to design. So, yeah. And for people who are interested in doing more than web design, the digital twin techniques class, although it was full, it's so weird. I don't know, and that class always gets full immediately. And then literally half the people just don't show up, don't answer, don't anything. And there's this thing called ghost registrations, which is people who are trying to get like loans or whatever, they get the money, but then they don't come to class and they do that. But it particularly happens in Unified Payments. So although I have 30 people in it, there's like literally 12 people showed up to it. So if anyone wants to take that class or can, I have a lot of space, but since it technically shows up as full, I would have to sign in. So let which day? It's Friday mornings, 9 to 1:45. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not, the people who, usually the people who can come to an evening class can't come to a morning or vice versa, but yeah. What's that?
You gonna start this Friday or it's already?
We started last Friday, but it's okay. I can catch you up. I can give you the recording, and it's mainly we've been opening up the different applications and talking about which ones they are. And so we're at the very beginning. So it's fine if you can join us this Friday, you'd be fine. Because what we've been doing is inside of Photoshop, and what you're doing here, in fact, is Photoshop. So you'll be fine. So it's, yeah, so anyone in this class who wants to join us on Friday mornings, you can, yeah, let me know. In fact, but later today, not later today, tomorrow, I was gonna drop the people who didn't show up yet, so then it'll look like there's space again, but I haven't done that yet, because I'm still dealing with waiting for emails to make sure that they're truly not coming. Once they don't respond after a week, I go, okay, I guess you're truly not coming, and then I drop them. But I still give them a chance in case they just couldn't show up the first class, right? Anyway, yeah, so hi, Ed. Let me see. Oh, everyone's here. All right, so I was saying, let me put the, it is here, let me put the link again to the Padlet, there you go. What's that?
That was with, there was an animal. An animal.
Oh,
Ed had an animal.
did you have a dog?
Yeah, I thought Giselle should take the class.
Oh, cool. I wasn't watching, I was looking this way, so everyone else.
When you
saw
said
that.
hi, I was waving her paw at you.
Oh, how cute, I missed it. Anyway, hi, Gazelle. Nice to see you.
They're saying hi to you. She's my lap dog.
Yeah. My dog is kind of unhappy that I started teaching in person again. So, for years he's had me teaching right there at my feet, tripping me over. And now he just like pines after me, waiting for me to come home. He loves everyone at home, but he's definitely a mama's dog. But mom gave me. I know, God, I wish. Anyway, so in fact, what I was saying is how last class I began to show you this is what I can see something. I began to show you things that are Photoshop, but that are beyond the basics. And in particular, what we talked about was artboards. Can anyone maybe give me a little idea of why I showed you artboards and what's the point of them? What's the goal of having an artboard?
So you should have many examples of.
Speak a little bit louder, see if people at home can hear you.
So we could have our multiple examples of the different way the website might look
Mhm.
at the end between the phones and the computer and the tablets and the whatever else they're gonna come up with.
Yeah, so that's one perfect good example, having the same website designed as a mock-up and the three main versions of screens that people are gonna be using, because the design is gonna have to be different. And as we move into the different web classes, which by the way, I haven't checked yet, but the web classes at this point, unless people sign up for them, they're gonna cancel because I don't have enough people. I haven't checked lately. Last time I checked. So if anyone is interested in the web classes, and I'll tell you more about what's in them. Let me see how we're doing. Hold on, I'm just checking here. Web coding fundamentals has 11 people and responsive web design has 10 people. So right now, I'm still missing, like, they might let them go with 15, but they want 20. So if anyone is slightly interested in all and you're not yet signed up for them, please do so. Responsive web design, in fact, is this that we, okay. In a nutshell, web designs in the past, you designed one web design, that was it, because everyone just had computers. And then handheld devices appeared and people would look at this big website on their phone and you wouldn't see anything because it was this tiny thing. So a website now has to be designed so that it looks good on the phone, good on a laptop, good on a desktop. So it's responsive to the screen through which people are looking at it. So you don't just design it one way, you design it so that it fits whatever way it's called upon by the users, right? So you have to pre-design it, and that's kind of what the artboard is all about. You don't just design it one way like you would an ad for a magazine. They tell you, you just bought a spot that's 4x6. Well, that's it. You just design 4x6. But if on top of that, you're going to make a flyer and a business card and a brochure, it's kind of the same design, but in 3 formats, right? So that would be if you want a responsive physical design would be having the same elements and distributing them a bit differently to look good for the different moment. So responsive web design would be, how do you design a site to be responsive versus a fixed in stone website. And the other class is web coding fundamentals, which, yeah, I'm not a web coder either. When I do websites, we either do it with like one of those first grade libs and those kind of things, which kind of design the page for you and you just put the elements in, which is what we're learning now. Or if it's going to be a simple website, I can do the coding for it. But if it's going to be a complicated website, I need a guy or girl, a person who sits there and just does all the coding, because yeah, it can get really intricate. But the basics of coding, which I'm doing here, is the basic minimal anyone who's interested in web design needs to know. Because even to modify those Wix and Squarespace and you know, any kind of website that you make, you still need to understand the basics of it. And here, we're just talking design in Photoshop. But in the next of the classes, we're gonna begin to understand the different parts, and that's what you get in the basic web design, in the basic coding. What's the header, what's the footer, what's the article, what's the sections, all the stuff for you to be able to put a website together. What the coding would be for that kind of stuff and how to modify text and color and all that, which I find that whenever I do a web design, even with one of the templated places, if I don't like the color the template comes in, by knowing some coding, I can change the color and stuff like that, right? So there's a basic amount of coding that if you want to really do web design, you need to know. And it's when you, anyways, that's what the web coding class teaches you, a lot more of the intricacies of the inner parts of the website.
Council, will you be possibly doing that?
This class, because they're doing them like this, that's in person, ever since the pandemic, before they used to fill, but ever since the pandemic, it's hard to fill them because people don't want to come in person, and it makes no sense. People who are up to doing a web design should know how to do Zoom. So until they give me the different technical thing that I can put them back to being online, they wanted to, I didn't want to teach them this time because I know that I mean, yeah, I make a living off of teaching and I don't want my classes to cancel. But if they cancel, they won't come around until next spring. Well, I'm going to ask not to teach them unless we do them again. So meaning this might be the last chance until I get them to be put on Zoom because it makes no sense, right? Look at how few people there. My Photoshop classes are full and look at how few of us we are here. And yeah, I don't know. So if anyone's interested in this, sign up. Or if you know someone who might be interested, have them sign up. I mean, if I get 15 people in each one, they'll probably let them go because my other classes I fill up really big. And so they might be some, but the school's in a real budget crunch and they're canceling classes is for real now, which during the pandemic, they were like, they had pandemic funds and whatever. And so they were more generous, but now they're really canceling them. So yeah, anyway, so if you have any reason for why this might be useful for you, or you think it might be useful for you, and you want to do what these people are doing, which is staying on Zoom, even though technically that's not happening, then you can do that. And as I said, if you attend even a part of the Zoom and then you watch the recording, so say that you can't do it at that schedule all the time, but you watch the recording, as long as you attend part of the Zoom, then that kind of is a good way of participating too. So same for anyway, the only thing about that is that you don't get questions and stuff like that, but yeah. All right, so, and I wasn't even going to jump into that except for that, whatever I was saying, morphed into that, web design, responsive design, that's why I morphed into how many people are in the class, yeah. So, okay. So that's why we do art boards. But again, for those of you who are strictly photography people like Ed, who is a photographer, and are you ever going to design a website, Ed? Is that something that you're interested in doing? I don't know, I'm asking.
Only if my wife asked me to. She has a website.
She has a business, a website, and you might modify, okay?
And I have a website
Okay,
for photography, but
Okay.
I used Fortran. I'm really old.
okay. But how, out of curiosity, where did you make that website that you and your wife have? Like what system?
She has it in Wix and I did mine online and I don't even remember what the program was.
Okay.
I haven't touched it. It was a photography one and it had a lot of settings on it. The website did it.
Okay, so probably if it's one of those that you did a long time ago and didn't change, and I'm not sure yet because you might have done it with a system that's responsive, but that might be an example of a site that's like frozen in time, where by not touching it for years and years and years, it's very hard to find. Like you wouldn't Google unless you are going to that website because you know it's his and you know the name of how to get to it. It won't show up in any links or, sites that don't get renewed and updated. They just don't show up in any search. So the people who are looking for you because they know you and they know of your photography, they would get there because they know how to go. But otherwise,
Diana, what did I do before I retired?
What did you do?
I was a software exec for 45 years.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
I do know how to do SEAs and all of those. And in fact, actually, the guys that used to run the auctions for doing advertising on the web, it was started by a friend of mine. So yeah, I
Very
know that stuff.
I do-
Better more than photography. by far.
I have like students all over the place that I don't know what you guys do. Every now and then, for one reason or another, someone might tell me, like he told me as an architect, he's trying to get his sculptures, whatever, but otherwise I wouldn't know. And I've had Ed in my classes for years. I had no idea. So there you go. I don't know that you're a software specialist. Anyway, so back to the frozen websites, like frozen in time that nothing links to it, or that if it hasn't been modified or updated, it might even still show up as non-responsive. I don't know, depending on where you made it. Which meaning if you try to see it on your phone, it probably just doesn't show up well. So yes, the art boards are a good way to play around and figure out how you're going to design it. But yeah, if you're designing a website from scratch, all of this is useful. But if you're going to be using Wix or one of those, they're just going to say, drop photo in here. And then that photo will appear in 3 different sizes automatically, because the way they do their templates, they've already set it up. Make sure that you choose a template that's responsive, although there's very few templates that are not responsive anymore in any of those sites. And then when you just drop one photo, it resizes, so to say, on their own. Some templates still don't. They ask you, give me 3 versions of this photo, right? They might ask you to give it in landscape version and in portrait version or whatever version of the same photo, so that they can then choose where the right one goes. But other than that, most of the time it's pretty automatic. And if you design your own site, then you can do the best to make your photo be like what we did last class, resizing it. You're in control of that compression and resizing so that it looks the best versus just dropping it into the company and having them make it look best. Anyway, 3 or 2, at least 3 of you said that you wanted to do it for others, like as a business or for your family business. I'm not sure. You said you wanted to do it as your brothers, yeah. So so then you need to take it a little bit more seriously, and that you need to be able to know more and show options, especially if it's completely clients and not even your family. Show options, and this would be a good way to show options. But I was pointing to Ed to start over, saying that you could also use this, say, for straight photography, where you have an image and you want to edit it in 3 different ways, because that same sunset can be done in 3 different ways. And so you just check it out in 3 different formats. Or if you're just doing a brochure and you want to show your client 3 versions of brochures, right? So this isn't just it's for any kind of design. Anyway, so the conversation of how to change the size of a photo that we did kind of as far as the entire file itself last week. Now we're going to segue a little bit into how to do that for individual layers. And we haven't done much layer work here. So today we're going to begin to do that a little bit. Oh, and this is, which one I'm sharing? Let me just share this screen right now. I'm not sure. I think last time I worked more on that computer. Figure out one or the other. I'm going to go ahead and share from here, although I don't have a mouse for this one. I'll see. Anyway, so in Bridge, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and select this man against wall dash hat. Select that one and open it up. It's a JPEG. It'll open straight up in Photoshop. Now, I didn't stop to look at the metadata of this image in Bridge. So who remembers how to check the metadata in here? Not as thorough as in Bridge, but where else would I check in here to see file size, all that kind of information? Nope. The history is only for actions taken. We haven't done anything other than open it right now. So yeah, someone was saying. Bottom left corner, yeah, I head down here and I can see whatever place you left it at is where you'll see it. So here what it's telling me is that there's 67 inches by 45 inches at 72 PPI. Does that mean anything for me when it comes to this being a web design? It means zero. That entire sentence means absolutely zero for web design. It might tell me that, no, this is not good for printing because it's 72 PPI and it should be 300 for printing. But when it comes to web design, that is absolutely meaningless. It's absolutely, none of that is helpful for me. So I'm going to click on this little arrow and let's go to the document sizes. Oh, no, wait, no, that one is 45 megabytes. Nope, that's not, where do I get my pixels? Not document profile. Ah, here we go. In the same one that I said is meaningless, which is document dimensions, I click on this, that, and there I get my things that do matter for me. Because so if you had moved up to document sizes, I made a mistake. It is in document dimensions, but you need to click on this one here that is meaningless. And up there we see what is meaningful, which is how many pixels I have. 4,083 by 3255, which then it says in inches, which is the part that's meaningless. Then it tells me channels. We don't really need that too much, but we do want to know that it's an RGB and then the resolution. So the only thing we have that matters right now is the pixels. Okay. So for that 4,800 by 3255. Right. So if this is about in height, 3,200-ish. This person from top to bottom is occupying maybe 3/4 of that ish, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, kind of throwing out a general measurement dish. So if I were to divide that number of 3,200 in a little bit, we might decide off the top of our heads without knowing that he might be, I don't know, 2,000, 300, 500.
2,400,
I'm not, what's that?
2,400.
24. I was saying 23. Not too bad for someone who doesn't good at numbers. So that's the how many pixels it has. If I want to bring this guy into, and I'm going to go over here to Bridge again. And if I want to go bring this photo into, where was it that I was going to bring them into? Did I bring that? Select here into this one. Okay. Before we open it even, if we look over to the pixels here, we see that this one's really tiny, right? Let's open it. Text and photo.psd. This one's already been turned into black and white. If you turn this eyeball on and off, you'll see that it had a bit of color. And I guess I didn't notice that the sample I saved it with a layer that makes it black and white. Doesn't matter.
To get back there.
I went back to Bridge and opened this one, add text photo. You have it, yeah, you're looking at by name, so it's up on the top, way up there. The third one up from the top. And then third one up from the top, up, one up. Yeah, that one. Double clicking up on that one. Okay. So since the giveaway was that I already had you look at the metadata, but if not, we can go over here to look at it. We'd see that we just said that the guy without his background was about, 2,400 pixels high. Let's go and try to bring him in, okay? And we'll see what happens. But right now, this image, we need to cut it out of the background. Remember the first day we did two types of masking. One was to say change the background that's in here to pink, and the other one was to isolate the guy. Do you remember the name of the one we want to isolate the guy? What's the tool? What's the name of what we need to do? Not the tool we need to use, but, so an adjustment layer mask is this. And it adjusts something. It made it from color to black and white. That's an adjustment layer mask. And it's
Okay.
the mask that cuts something out is gonna appear on the same layer. And so it's called just a layer mask. Okay?
Like subject.
Just a layer mask versus an adjustment layer mask. But since they do something so different, you just kind of when I say, let's add an adjustment layer mask, it's one thing, it's this little S right there. And if I say, let's add a layer mask, it's this one right there. They're right next to each other. All right, but since now we have all these handy dandy automatic tools,
So
I'm gonna go ahead.
select subject.
Yeah, so we can do it either with select subject or remove background. Watch, if I do it with select subject, I'm gonna have to do 3 steps to isolate the background from him. I'll do the selection, which will give me a selection of the guy.
Okay,
Then I'll have to go over here and create with this little icon, a layer mask, right?
yeah.
Well, actually 2 things then, not 3 things. I thought the other day I had to then switch it to get the background. So that's 2 things. Or I'm gonna undo those 2 things, or I can just say remove background. And when I say remove background, I
Goes
get that thing happening, right? So in this case of the 2 choices, remove background is better because it doesn't just remove it and trash it. It does it in a way that is truly
Masked.
non-destructive. It did it through adding mask. So it's the same thing. All right. So now
Diana?
I'm looking over at Paolo. Where are you? What's happening there? Okay, I'm gonna go. Give me a second, Ed. I'm seeing here something that. Here, so over here. Okay, so do command 0 so that you go back. Oh, you tossed out your tools. So. No.
Okay. I need,
Let's
and
go.
and I need to go. Flex,
Okay, so now I'll go ahead and say remove background,
ACC.
and there you go. Okay, yes, Ed? You had a question?
Yeah, couldn't you just do a select subject, then copy and paste?
Yeah, so so what he's saying is already, how do we bring it into the other file? But right now, I'm just having you figure out how to isolate it in here. What he's saying, let me undo this, is if all we do is select subject, so you guys don't undo. And then I just copy this right now, Command C, Command B. I can just paste it in here and there he comes in. I'm gonna undo that. But then over here, you would have no way, if you do that, which is fine, you'd have no way to fix it. So if in any way, shape or form, like over here, see he's missing a little piece of cheek or something, let me move in. All I have is his face. Like I brought in that selection and I can't really fix it because I don't have a mask to add or take away from the mask to make the selection better, right? So that's not a problem. I can probably fix it first, like give the selection and do all my fixing in here and then bring it in. But if instead I had done this and I bring this entire thing, then I can still keep fixing it. Now, that's normally how I would do it, but today my task isn't necessarily to show you how to keep modifying this and there. Rather, I'm going to be teaching you how to resize things, right? So yes, just copying and pasting is fine, or because I'm going to take you another skill. When you do it this way, you can also then leave it masked and hold down your command key and click command or alt control for PCs, and then single click one time on the mask, and then the marching ants appear again. This is basically like 3 different ways to do the same thing. Now we can copy paste, but watch what's going to happen if I copy right now, Command C, and I go over here and paste. What did I copy? What did I bring in? I brought in the mask, right? Because I selected and clicked over here And I copied white, I copied mask. So if I want to copy pixels, I have to click on the pixels part of it and then copy. Command C or Control C. So it's just a bit more complicated. Just like here, I showed you 2 different ways to do it versus 1. This is the 3rd way to do it. Either way that you do any of these, by the time we get back to this one and repaste, hopefully we have the guy over here, which yes, is the bad, you know, cutout where a piece of his cheek is going to be missing. But right now, that's not the point of today's class. So here we go. Here we bring this guy. Let's keep the other one there because we're going to use it again. We bring this guy into this photo, and lo and behold, he's humongous, right? Because the other one really is the one that's really tiny. And, or this is big. Had I expected to copy and paste and not looked at the metadata, might have been surprised. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was so big, but yeah, we already knew he was going to be humongous. So can you go ahead and copy and paste it into the other? Yeah, there we go. So did you do it too, Manuel? Okay, so go ahead and select.
Yeah.
Go ahead and select pixels. Do a copy. And see, select, you haven't clicked,
My file.
but no. Again, no, cancel. Just simple. But you guys have to look at this. Now you're ready to copy. This one. And save. Okay. Now go into the other one. Now come in the okay. Thank you there. And over there, I'm seeing everyone got it. You have it.
If you're a business owner, then animated explainer videos are the best way to capture attention, get more followers, and drive more sales.
Barbara,
Okay, I don't know, someone from back there was making. Okay, so raise your hand here.
They're on YouTube. I know that commercial.
So single, click on that. There we go, now you have the guys, so now copy. Okay, so the other one. And paste. So what was it gonna be? Okay, so when you. Yeah, sometimes. You were trying to go into the next. Yeah. Okay, you can't paste a shape into pixels into a mask. All right. Here we go. So everyone at home has that, I'm assuming. We got this guy in. Yeah. Oh. How many times did you paste? Did you put it? Okay, let me just undo. Can I give you, okay, so now select your this doesn't matter anything, we'll select the bottom. Good. Now do your command V. So what's happening there? You were trying to paste into the masks. Oh, that means you don't have the right. Okay, so now let's go and get the copy. Back here, like that. And see. You didn't have it copied in. Maybe some people, when you do command and control, command and copy, remember always that the command keeps held down. And then you just tap the V, the C, the whatever, but don't do like this. Sometimes you miss out on one and all you did is tap the C, V. I don't know if that's what's happening because I wasn't watching, but you need to make sure to hold down the modifier key, whatever that might be, which is usually Command, Shift, Control, Option, one of those. And then the rest is just a single tap. Okay, so So now we have a guide that is too big. Let's go ahead and double click on the word layer one and call this one original size, I guess, or something like that. And just call it original. Now we're going to duplicate this one. We're going to have him twice. Okay. So we're going to do Command or Control J will give us an original copy. Okay. Now, if you don't remember shortcuts, you can also just right click and say duplicate layer. That takes one extra step because then you'll have to say okay. But either way, it works. You could have also, since you already still had that in your memory, because the computer still has it in the memory, it hasn't deleted, you can just paste again. And you'd get a second one of the same thing. So there's all these different ways of doing this whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and I Command J is the fastest one. And then this one, we're going to double click and we're going to call downsize. Downsize. Okay. Actually, downsize, resize. I could say downsize and resize. How about we just write transform? Okay, downsize slash resize. You'll see why. Never mind. We can relabel this later. Okay, so I'm going to grab this original and I'm going to turn it off because it'll be our sample to work with later. So turn it off by like eyeball off. So it's there, but we're not going to work on it right now. Okay. Now, this is not to confuse you. This is just to explain. Sometimes when I want that to happen and I want to keep it as something that I don't want to deal with anymore, I might want to put it under that main layer. So I would unlock this, grab this original and drag it to the bottom. So it's kind of hidden, it's gone and I don't have to worry about it for now. And it's like, this is my beginning and then I go there. This might be confusing to some people, but it also might be confusing to have two of them guy there. So whatever's better for you. Now, when this was locked, I couldn't have put him there, right? Because if I try to bring him down, there's, so, oh, well, not because I unlocked and locked, it's letting me. But anyway, if not, you might need to unlock it and first and then put it down there. So let's grab the original one and put it down there. That way we don't have to worry about whether you're using the right one. I don't do that. I leave it there because then I can turn it off and on to compare. But I know that if I don't do that, some of you guys might be working on the wrong one. Okay. So now we're just going to kind of keep it up there to forget about it. So go to this thing by saying Command J, select it. Select it first. Nope, you have to have it, yeah, there. Now Command J. Now grab this one that's original, bottom one, and just drag it. And that one we're just gonna call it resize. Resize is fine. Okay. Oh, you brought it with all of its yeah, you brought it with the mask and everything. That's not gonna be a good idea. So let's go back here and say open here. And let's go over here and just for that. So with single click on with alt and click. Section. Good. And You're comfortable with it, never mind those. But if you're accustomed- I don't know, beginning why. I don't know why. But I can't fix it, so at this point, just go with it because I. Just duplicate this guy and. Yeah, so let's undo that, go to your history. Start going out. You know what, you can also just leave them. You know what, I can also just have you. I don't know why, but something you guys both of you did that made it that way, but it doesn't. Oh, sorry. I could have shown you how to just apply the mask and have it go, but right now, there we go. All right, sorry. Yeah, for some people, the mask wasn't leaving, so I had to go and help with that. Let me just share one thing. Say that you're done with the mask. And in this case, what was happening to them, they were coming up with a mask and stuff like that. If you for sure know that you don't want it, you can also just try to delete the mask, right? You right click and say, instead of just delete mask, you apply layer mask. And boom, now it's become forever that way, which means I've lost that piece of cheek and everything and it's gone. So normally you wouldn't do that. But anyway, that's what I had to do because for some reason they kept having them.
Diane, can you show that last thing you did one more time?
Yeah, I rarely want you to do it though, because normally unless you can never go back if you do that. It's like a destructive thing, but I would just right click and say apply layer mask, meaning get rid of the background. But since this
Okay.
mask right now is bad in the sense that, you know, I missed out piece, I haven't checked out parts of his body, but I know I missed out a piece of the cheek. Now I can't fix it if I do that.
Right,
That's all.
thank you.
Spend too much time on that, but yeah, here we go. If you end up in another layer like here where you brought the mask and then you don't want it, you can get rid of the mask and then you have just the pixels. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and grab this guy who is huge and I'm going to go ahead and go command minus 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 because the reason I wanted to do that is to show you that if you try to select this image and see how big he is, you know, he's kind of like that big. And so when I would now want to change his size, I'm going to do the free transform command, which is for those of you who know it, command T. Make sure to have downsize, resize selected because you're moving things around, you know, make sure you have this one selected. Or you can go up to edit and go to free transform. See there, it says command T. This is one of those that we use a lot. You want to know. So when I say free transform, which is command T or edit free transform, go ahead and do that, Manuel, so that I can move out from here. Edit free transform. The reason I had you go small is so that you can see how big it is. And let me show you why, because had this been big and you do the command T free transform, right now I did it, but you wouldn't know you did it. Why? Because it's out
So
there.
big.
You know what I mean? It's not, you wouldn't have noticed that it was done, nor can you grab the corners to deal with it because it's so big. That's why you kind of had to do this so that you can do something with it, right? So now, if I grab any side that I grab it from to go smaller, it'll resize proportionally. In the past, you had to hold on to shift, now you don't. So it's resizing, right? So if I go over here into the properties, if my properties are available, or if I look them up here, I can see how much I'm resizing it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and resize it about yay big so that he fills there. So he's as big as filling this screen. If I go over here, looks like I can check on the amount of sizes. I went to 30% or 31% or something like that is what it's showing me here to make it about as small. You know, how about we just have him peeking into the photo? Maybe make it even a little bit smaller so you can go up to about 25% or something. Notice that when I'm moving this up and down, I don't see percentage here. I just see pixel sizes, but it's up there that I'm showing you the percentages right there. So it's showing me the new pixel sizes, but it's showing me the percentage. So I could go to about 25% and about there, you'll see over there 25%. That kind of gives you an idea. Also, I want him to be looking in, so I can go over here and flip. Now he's kind of looking in, or I can flip him upside down. Anyway, neither of those matter. Let's put him back in the original position, just resizing him. Okay, so everyone has him about this size. So let's say done or hit return. Up until now, by the way, I didn't say done yet. You probably did because I told you to do that. Up until I say done, I can still go up and down and life would be good. What I don't want to do is keep an eye on the percentage, and I don't want to go any bigger, right? Because I'll explain why later. So if I want to go to like 104 or whatever, I'm making it bigger than it came. I'm going to go back to making it smaller. Sorry, just wanted to show you that I can keep going up and down and life is still good. The moment I say done, boom. What Photoshop has had to do is kind of equivalent to what we did the other day when we did for the whole file. We have resampled, we have dumped information. We've got rid of all of that information that allowed him to be as big as he was. He looks great. In fact, if I do Command 0 right now to fill my screen, his quality, he still looks great. There's nothing fuzzy. Let's go to Command 1. It's a small file. At Command 1, which is 100%, he looks great. So it's not like we lost quality over this image. But by resizing that transform tool right now, we have a image that lost 75% of its information. So now, if I want to resize him up again, that information is gone. I mean, not undo. Yeah, we can undo and everything is fixed right now, but that's not the point. Say that we close this, we walk back, when we come back, we go, oh, now we need him big again. You know, like we don't have that undo available anymore. When I want to resize him again, Photoshop has to invent pixels to give him back to me, right? So let's try that. I'm going to do resize again, Command T. I'm going to bring him up again. And see, now he's 100% this size. It's not like I can go back to 100%. He's just not there anymore. So just to remember how big he was, give me a second here. And he was 2,330. So he was about 2,400 pixels. So let's go over here and let's resize this guy again. And we can either do it with our fingers going back and forth, or since I just told you that he was about 2,400 pixels, we could also click in here and write 2,400 and hit tab so that this one changes as well. No, because they're not linked. So I'm going to undo that. Let's just do it by hand then, because otherwise I'd have to, so I'm going to go minus, minus, minus again. And then I'm just going to kind of go up again till I see him being about I'm just looking at for pixels there until I get to about 2,400. Oh, where are the pixels not showing up? Maybe on this little box. No, it's just showing me inches. Why does it after past 1,000 it goes, it's not showing me. Not showing me the width. I'm not seeing over here the actual pixels. I'm just seeing the XY, but I'm not seeing the actual pixels. It's showing percentages, which is not, I'm trying to, and over here it's not showing me the size. I'm a bit confused because normally it would show me the sizes, but it's showing it to me in inches instead of in pixels. I don't know why it's not showing me that in pixels. You're saying yours in pixels? Yeah, it should be shown in pixels. Anyway, right now though, for better or for worse, if I kind of look over here in these images here, I can kind of compare and see that I've made him probably a little bit bigger than he used to be. Let me do that. You know, I'm going to try to match visually, but I need to go and see in your screen where you're seeing the pixels, because normally I would have seen them right here. So it looks like that's about ish the same size that I used to have. I don't know. I'm gonna hit, you know what I'm trying to do? I'm visually kind of matching it. Where do you see the inches? Why am I not seeing them? Yeah. No, X and Y is position on your place, but it's not the actual size of the image. Weird. I don't know. I'll look into why. Usually this should be showing me pixels. Maybe we have the settings set up for it to not show me the inches. Anyway, that's about yay big, and I'm gonna say done, right? I'm gonna say done because I've made it big again. I'll say done, and that should be about the same size. Let's do to command 1. You can say done or you can hit return. What? Oh, show me.
So it's been right.
Oh, thank you, thank you. At home in my computer, I must have changed it so many years ago that I'm always seeing the pixels and I'm not, anyway, so she just showed me why, thank you. Right now it's showing these to me as a percentage, so watch, when I move up, you can change these to whatever you want. I'm gonna right click and tell it to give me this number in pixels and not this, the weight and the width and the height. Not the X and Y, that's the position on my axis. And this here is the width and the height. So you can right click on the number and choose pixels. That makes much more sense. Okay, and now it'll give me the numbers. So now we can go exactly to 2400 pixels. So I'm gonna command minus again because I can't get big enough. And I'm gonna go up until this one here reaches about 2400. And I'm going to go help because I know it got a bit confusing. Otherwise, if it's just kind of about the right number, that's good enough. So now that I got to about 2400, I'll hit done or return or this check mark or done right here or hit the return key. And there he is. Now I've gotten him back to how he used to be. If I need to explain that again, I'll show you, but those of you who are at home, if you manage to make it work, give me a yes, so I'll know whether I need to help you at all. And, or no, if you didn't, meanwhile, let me go ahead and have it here over here. Okay, so we're gonna make this, oops. So, make this big, 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 big until you see over here the number 24. So that's what he was before, okay? So we're resizing him. And that's why it's better to make it smaller. Right, so that you can actually point. Actually, was it hard for you? Now, you're down there, so you know how to move up. What would you do to see it? Nope, that's. So right now, command 0. And what command 0 does, it fills your screen. There we go. And then command 1. So now bring him down. No, now you can move this guy. So select this person. You can't go ahead and select the guy again, put it down, and then you can't move your mouse outside of it. So you move outside of it, it'll move. So that's about how we started. Okay, anyway, tell me, compared to the original, what happened to the guy? So big. And you have to do. Oh, okay. This is so big. Really
really small.
No. Oh. That's about as big again, okay? We're making it go back about as big as we had it. Make it really big and then say done. All right, so, sorry, I was helping people, but what can you tell? I'm gonna go to 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and, ask you, what do you guys see that happened here? If you,
Easy.
yeah, so if I now want to compare it to my original, I'll bring my original here. And there's my original, and there's this one. Quality wise, what can you see? The back one, and I brought him up again, right? Here's my behind base. And here's the one that I downsized and upsized. That's the old one. The one that I didn't change sizes is the new one. Let me get bigger so you guys can see. Let's compare. These lips to those lips, right? These eyebrows to those eyebrows. See what I'm doing? So Photoshop did a pretty decent job, considering that I had lost all the pixels and moved them up that big. It's not impossible or horrible, but if this were to be something that if I really lost him, and this is what I had to print, and he would be all blurry and kind of fuzzy, right? Now,
You get fired.
what's that?
You get fired.
Yeah. But the thing is that Photoshop is amazing, because in the past, you would make something only double the size and it would be this blurry mess you couldn't see. As years progress, and we're in 2020, version 2024, I moved it from this tiny bit all the way to that. It's a huge amount of difference, and it's a recognizable person. In fact, pretty good, just blurry. So as time go by, it does a better job, but nowhere near the quality of the original, right? So when you are transforming, the rule of the thumb is, yes, keep going down, 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 down. Photoshop does a great job of downsizing, but upsizing or upsampling, resizing up is a no-no. So I'm going to go back here into the, where it says downsize, resize. I'm just going to call it do not upsize, for example, like, because that is an example of the one that I went down and up again. Bad idea, right? You can call it whatever you want, but this is the one that I want to say don't do. We're going to leave that one there. And now give me a yes if that worked for everyone. If you all got that, let me the feedback for you guys at home. Did that look much worse? Is the question. If it looked much worse, then you did it right, meaning you did it wrong, because you shouldn't do that. But yes, you did the exercise right, and that it looks horrible. Now, this is a perfect example of, give me a little screenshot of this, because then I might otherwise forget later to do that. So I'm gonna have both phases next to each other. Layers don't matter so much anymore, just this, because it's the comparison of the quality of both. Okay, and then let's go over to the here's my chat, here's the link to the Padlet. And let's put this guy in there. So, Diana,
How do I get the second one?
do not upsize. What's that?
How do I get the second one?
Okay, so what I did to get the second one up is I had hidden this one down there under the one that's so full that you don't see it. I just brought him up again. That's all. And so now he's behind. If I put him on top, then I'd be hiding the other one. That's why I have him down here. So that I can see both. And, you know, I moved one over a little bit so I see both faces. All right. So you can see the resolution on the beard, how much, you know, much better the original beard was, et cetera, et cetera. The hairs. Okay. It's pretty amazing still how well it does. But rule of the thumb, even if you go just a little bit up, Photoshop is inventing anything it needs to go when it goes up. And even if it does it well, it is reducing the quality. And even now that it's really good at upsampling, even now, even if you just go up a few inches, if you compare hair to hair, the new hairs are a bit fuzzier. It's just good enough that it takes quite a bit for it to be a problem. But you don't want to do that. Okay, great. So this is the regular transform. Now, this whole thing is a bit of a preamble into what we're going to do to prevent that, to let us make things bigger and smaller. And now let me show you the example that I brought up really quickly last time, where I showed you this. There's so many templates in here, where, as you can see, you're going to be having to resize the same element, bigger, smaller, all kinds of things, and it always needs to look good. And sometimes you might show it small, and sometimes you might show it big, so you can't have that happening because you don't want to have it be that small and then have to resize big, or big and small. You just don't want that at all. You want to be able to have that no matter if you make it bigger or smaller, it's always good quality. You might find, in fact, that sometimes in the big one, in the one that goes on the desktop, you might have a smaller shape. And then for it to fill the screen on the phone, it actually has to be a bigger file now and then, you know, conversely, because over here, we're showing this 4 to the width, but here only itself, you might actually find that this pineapple on the desktop ends up having to be a smaller photo than this one that's on the phone. So anyway, it'll be going up and down, up and down. You don't want to have problems with resizing and stuff like that. So now what we're gonna figure out is, how do we avoid that? Now let's head over to our original one again and do a copy again. Command or Control J. And let's put it way up on top, the original copy. And this one, we're gonna double click and call it Smart Object. Why is it Smatty? Smart Object. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and help a little bit to get to this point. Yeah, let me, you know what? Let me just actually go through. To get all that back. Yes. Not that it wasn't your problem, it was the original problem, that's why I didn't screen. But that, this will work. And tiny. There we go. Hit return, we're done. Good. Now, grab them again. Here. has to be included with control, which. So now I see this thing. Okay, so now you have these, the resize one. That one is this one. Clearing. Later you can turn it on and do a screenshot. Now I go to- So you're in place, have a screenshot. Okay, so. Is everyone ready to go? You're all good? No questions at home? How about here? What's up with you? Can you do the screenshot? Okay. Okay, for now, let's put it later. Okay, so right now, I want you to move forward, so I don't hear anyone, but for now, okay, what's happening? I want you to duplicate the original again. In your mouse. This. Crazy. This here. Here. But. Didn't. You probably didn't do it. So again. That's. Since you had already, I had seniors, somehow I got them done. Right? Now you can do that in a minute. And I want us to go with this one, say, write that smart object, and let's start from here. Okay, so guys, just say smart object and say, okay, and then you can post it both at the same time. All right, so now we're going to turn this into a smart object. Smart object is how we do that. We can either go up to image, smart object, layer smart object, or you can just right click. I think you can right click and maybe convert to smart object. There it is. Convert to smart object. Or go to layer and convert to smart object under smart objects. Either way, we're going to click on that. And at first, nothing seems to have changed, but look at your little thumbnail and you'll see that there's this little tiny box in the thumbnail. It's just a little box in the thumbnail that indicates that this is now a smart object. Okay. Oops. That indicates this is a smart object. So we're going to turn all these others off for now. And let's leave them here. You don't need to hide them anymore. Just make sure that you're working on the smart object one. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do Command T to transform. Notice that the Command T already gives us something a little bit different. If I move down, it has an X over it, but it didn't have it before. And instead of having to pull down or whatever, you can also go over here and write 25%, you know, instead of pulling down, whatever is more comfortable to you. You go over here and write 25%, then it'll get to the size that we had done before. Or you can gently do it one more time and then say done. All right, now. Let's go to it. So now, let's put. Now we're gonna do the same thing we did before, so Command T, you're gonna swarm. And now, you can move it down, I think it's easier to just go here to the 100% and just write 25, because that's what we did last time, we made it. And we showed it 25, and then here, return, and there you go, or say done. And there you go. Okay, so now we're doing exactly the same thing, right? There's no difference. The only difference is that this was done on a smart object. Right. So now let's Command T and make them big again. And again, you can save yourself by going up here and now either writing 100%, or if this was turned into pixels, then you can write 2400 or whatever it was before. I'm going to go ahead and write 100 because now we know. And hit return. Or say done. So I just went through the exact same set of movements, right? Only instead of doing it by hand, bringing it down, I just did it with the percentages because once I know the percentage. Did everyone do that? Back and forth. Okay. Let's go to 100%. What do you think about quality? Let's compare this one to the original now. What do you think? Yeah, is it good or is it the same? This is my smart object right there. Well, if it's better, something's wrong. It should be exactly the same. If it's better, I don't know, you have some magical ability. It should be identical. Especially if you went percentages, because maybe if you went by pixels, you added a bit more or a bit less. Should be the same one. How did it work here? Did it work for you guys? How about at home? Go ahead and do a quick screenshot of this, where you can see over here in the layers that it's a smart object, and the quality of this is identical. Just make sure that we're comparing smart object to original. Okay, and I haven't yet come here myself, but let's go ahead and say Diana. Smart object looks the same after transformation, right? So all right. So here's my smart object looking the same after transformation. I don't think, yeah, I posted my first one. Okay, now that's the doingness of it. Now let me explain what and why all of this is looking the same and what's truly happening with our, look at the time, and what's truly happening with our transformation. Oh, we're still fine. My alarm said it's almost time for breaks, but not really. So yes, probably. No. Oh, okay.
Great.
So let me stop my share for a minute. Just to have you guys have a break from having that whole screen set up, and so we can see our home people. Bud and Rebecca, you're fine. Barbara, how are you doing? Did I leave you behind? Oh,
Oh, I'm totally lost. I'm gonna have to watch the video. I had to go back and download the class files again. And I just,
sorry.
it's okay. I'll watch the video and I'll get it.
I haven't been checking in on you, but that said, you can, again, this kind of stuff you can do with any file. It doesn't need to be my files. As you can see, it's just a file, but yeah. If you're still trying to get why don't you, during a break, maybe I can help you figure out how to download the files or something so you can, the part that we do, because we're gonna keep going, not on this file, on another one, and then maybe you can catch up on that one, okay? All right, so, I'm gonna clear your guys' answers. And Ed, I think Ed had to step out. Are you there, Ed, or did you have to step out? Anyway.
I think I just got it. I've got him in that other photo. Thanks.
All right, so here's the thing. So everyone now look at me. No more doing smart objects. They're magical. They're magical creatures, as you saw. Nothing happened. Smart objects are kind of like files within files. Keep that in your back of your brain. I'll show you later what I mean by that. But when you turn a layer into a smart object, it is kind of protected from being messed up with, protected from being downsampled or upsampled, for example, which is what we just did. But in fact, just let me actually share my screen again. Let me just show you. So you don't need to do this right now. You just need to, on this one, you just need to trust me. Let me share my screen again. So this is demo. I'm explaining things. I don't want you to do them. Watch. If I try to go to the original one is this one over here. If I go to this original one and I use, remember the retouching tools that I showed you rather quickly? Oh, that's true. They don't give me the retouching tools in this mode, do they? In graphic and web. I have to go over here and find retouching tools. Give me a sec. If I try to go ahead and retouch this guy, because I'm going to say that maybe this is a mole or something. No, it is a mole. It's a zit, and I want to get rid of it. See how quickly I'm retouching him? This is that original one. I'm doing it destructively, but yes, it's reachable. Now I'm going to go to my smart object, which is this one. I'm going to try to do the same thing to this one. Nope. Try again. Nope. It's like I have a little force field of protection around it. I can't do anything to it right now. In fact, it tells me this smart object must be rasterized before proceeding. Rasterizing means turn it off, turn the smart object feature off. The context will know, should I rasterize it? And I'm gonna say, no, I wanna keep it as a smart object. So it's protected from things that can affect those pixels. So we protected it from the upside down sample, and now I'm showing you how I can't reach it to do a basic retouch on it. So what's happening is that this has turned into like an in file within a file, which is how I started saying that. So this file, this layer is really staying untouched. It is basically doing this, the downsize and the resize is doing it in a non-destructive manner. It's doing it just to show it to us smaller, but it's keeping all those pixels there. When I do want to say, take these things off his cheek, let's call them, we wouldn't take them all because that's part of a body's face, but say that these were zits and we wanted to take them off. I would have to open this as if it were a separate file. So watch, I'm going to grab the smart object. I'm going to go to the thumbnails, not to the body of it, but to the thumbnail, that little area, and I'm going to just double click. And look, a new file ish opened up, it says at smartobject.psb. So it's not really a new file. The original file was this one. This one's not the one that's opening up. This is another example. Definitely. So what's opening up is that layer opens up as its own file. I'm going to zoom in, zoom in and see this that we're seeing literally opened up as a separate file right there, as if it were a separate file. Now I could go in and modify. Let me be very clear. It's a different modification. Let me take his earring out, for example. Okay, he has no earrings now. I modified him in here. If I go back to Photoshop, let's have his earring, with his earrings into the way. With his earrings in. This is the smart object. Are his earrings still there? Yeah, so I affected it out here, nothing seemed to happen. Until I save this, yeah, that is the real, wait. Give me 1 second, fine. Until I save this little separate file, which is one layer that opened up individually. When I save it, file saved. Now I've saved that change. Now look, when I go back here, it has no ears, no earring. That changed, and I took some of these moles away, but I had to do it in a separate place. Now, had I done this in a non-destructive manner, it would have worked. So I'm going to undo that because I can still do it. And remember how the other day, I think this group I taught how to do this in a non-destructive manner. Oh, okay. Okay, so I can do this in a non-destructive manner. Long story short, I'm going to do this again in a non-destructive manner. I guess I taught it in the other class. So now all I'm doing is moving his ears, do a different layer. I'm going to save. Let's, you know what? Forget about it. Since I didn't teach you non-destructive, let's just do it on top of him. I'll explain it. Whole point is I'm trying to say is it's changing once I save it. Now, let me go back to that smart object. I'm going to change his colors. I'm going to do something else really, really different. I'm going to make him be really saturated. Blah, he looks bizarre, crazy. I go back there, nothing has changed. Why? I haven't saved yet. I'm going to save. I go up here. He's now bizarre colored. I make the changes in the other file and it changes in here. Okay, in that little separate file. If I close it now and lose it, there it is. But I left him in this weird, bizarre color. So if I double click to open it up again, I don't have that history anymore because I closed it. So is he stuck being this bizarre Willy Wonka? What's the guy that gets all blue? Oompa Loompa. I've turned him into an Oompa Loompa, but I closed that file. So remember, any changes that you make, once you close them, they're done. So I can't bring it back. Fortunately, I still have the history of this. So you'd think I can still undo it from here? No, let's see. Update smart object, update smart object. It's fortunately still undoable in here because this history kind of supersedes the individual one. So you still have one saving grace for him not to be an Oompa Loompa. Now I have him back at the no earring mode, right? But be careful when you're working on a smart object and you're changing it, keep it open until you're truly done with it, because it could be that you've kept it, you've closed it a long time ago, and when you want to go find it again, this only remembers 50 steps. So if you've worked so much on this that you're 50 steps away, then you're done. You have an Oompa Loompa forever until you bring in the photo again and you start all over again. Does that make sense? Just warning you that undos are not that, but that it acts like a file, that when you close it, it forgets its layers. Okay, so let's try this now. Let's go to that smart object, double click that little icon, and it'll open as a new file. Hold on, I'm seeing something different here, right? Yes, let's do a different one. And yes, we're gonna do it in a destructive manner. Let's go ahead and give him a hue saturation or something like that. But we're gonna have to do it in a way that's destructive. So let's just do Command U. And you
Command
shouldn't
what?
remember Command U for under. Don't remember this one because this is the destructive way of doing something that I don't want you to do in future destructively, but just let's turn him into whatever. I'm gonna go with bright pink this time. More funky. And say, okay. Okay, so Command U. And then flip this little hue thing around, make him something totally different, then say, okay. If you want to confirm, when you go back here, you'll see that he's still looking normal. But if you go back to the smart object and save, when you go back here, he should now be completely messed up color-wise. If that worked and it worked well, go ahead and give yourselves a pat on the back and give me another screenshot of the what I'd like to see, and this is, you can't show both, you can show both, but I haven't set it up to show both yet. Just do this one with the smart object thing in there, because you can see that you couldn't have changed it unless you had changed it on another file. Because as I said, you can't affect this on its layer unless it's on its own, right? So in this case, what we're gonna do is you probably have to write about this. I'm gonna select so I can see both of these up here, so you can see the two files, and you can see this. This is. Hold on, let me show. And again, sometimes this isn't so much also about me seeing your work, which I do want to see your work, but also for you to come back here and remember the steps, right? Modified the smart object by opening it up in its own file and saving the changes. It then changes in the original file. Modified to Frankenstein. I like that. Okay. We're going to spend a bit more time with this, but now you can see, and if you remember when I open this file, you can just notice over here that these pineapples that I was talking about are smart objects. And how do I know? Because it has this little tiny box under its icon. Okay, so that's why when you make all these images smart objects, you can modify them in and out to your heart's content. One more thing I'll show you, and then we're going to go on our break. Take a second to look at my screen. I'm in this example where I have this pineapple and 3 artboards. Look what's going to happen. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to make this one bright purple. Bright purple. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to save it. And not only did I change it in one, but I changed it in all 3 because it was the same smart object applied to each artboard. So now you begin to have another idea of the power of these artboards, because I really have one file that I put in all 3. So then if the guy says, the client says, hey, give me a red logo or give me a green pineapple or whatever, all you need to do is modify the one file and it modifies across the board as long as it's the exact same file that you open once to modify and it changes everywhere. Because this is a linked file and not an embedded file. Talk about it more after break, but this is just to demo, okay? That which I was showing before. Give me a yes if this worked for you. The whole making the guy a different color, saving and having his face altered. And if this did work and you posted it, then life is good. If it didn't work and you have questions, then time to ask questions.
And we got, I lost the
And that's it. So you change the color, save the file. Did you save yet? You can save. File save or you can S. Cool. And now go back to your original file. And it's changed. Okay, you didn't change it here, you changed it. All right,
to do. You had two phases in-
but I had. But since this one. Look at this, then- Okay, so save that. We're gonna take 15 minutes, and so our break will be until 7:30. 7:30 PM. Oh, I'm in the wrong keyboard. Be back by 7:30 PM. All right. And yeah, let's take our. Let's take our break, which in this case means we need to leave the room. Sorry, you guys, but yeah, that's still what it means here. Not gonna be gone that long. I just need to use the restroom and then I'll come back in case it's cold and you guys want to eat. Well, actually, I need to eat something, so I'll be sitting outside eating. Manuel, it's cool. I need to take a break.
Sometimes I feel like I'm should say that I feel like a kindergarten doing in a particle physics class.
Yep. This isn't the. Not the easiest set of concepts to. It is, this is hard to do. You saw it, just click and it happens. But what's hard, what we're doing right now is more the understanding of why that I'm explaining. The doing this was just click a thing, convert. Double click, change, right? It doesn't physically, or what we're moving around and doing isn't as complicated as when we were learning how to do masks and stuff like that. But it's understanding the why. And so anyway, we'll spend a bit more time with that. But yeah, are your computers up and running for
Yeah.
setting it up later? Okay. So Diane is missing. Okay. Over there, Bud, you're there? Let me get you guys to clear your feedback. Rebecca's there. All right. So there's a couple of different ways to create these objects. One is, as we did, we right click on, we know we're going to want to change it, but we want to keep it protected. Then we turn it into a smart object. There's many different ways or reasons to want to keep something as a smart object. When there's a tool in Photoshop that's made in a way that you can't use it in a non-destructive way, meaning that you can't ever go back to how it was, then you might be given the opportunity to first turn it into an object and then make that change in this separate place. Now, I'm going to go ahead and there's a couple different things. I'm trying to see which one to start with. I think I'll start first with a bit more smart object work. And I want to show you the libraries. I'm looking at the time. Okay. So let's head back to Bridge. And which one might be the better, because we've already used those tulips quite a bit or whatever. Let's go to I don't have very, usually I change the photo. Okay, this one, the hue saturation flowers. Let's go to Bridge to the hue saturation flowers and double click and open that one. Let me see how Padlet's doing. All right. So since I did have some, so just trying to review, you guys, what we did here was masking, right? But no retouching. That's why when I did the retouching, you guys were surprised. Yeah. Okay. Since I just taught that in the other Photoshop class and in the digital design technique class, we did a little bit of that. So I was just trying to remember which class we had done that in. So all the different kinds of masking and collaging. Okay. Back to Photoshop. So we've opened this one up. Manret, go over to Bridge, and it's the one called hue saturation, right after these guys.
All we can see is the. at home.
Oh, what's that? Share my screen. When I say these guys and you don't see it, you're learning. You're like, oh, what are you talking about? Here it is. That's what I'm talking about. Make it big. Oh, I shouldn't have the whole. Okay. So this image here. If I were to want to make changes in it right now, we'd have to find ways to do it non-destructive. And one of the things we did already at the very beginning, and let me just show you here. At the very beginning of our, whoops. At the very beginning. In order to turn this into black and white, we added a hue saturation adjustment. Well, in some cases was a black and white adjustment there. But that left our original image untouched, remember? That's what I mean by non-destructive. Things happen in a separate place. Same with this. We separated his art from his mask in a separate place. And then we did it to this again, right? Each one of the individual pieces, we learned to select different parts and pieces, and we separated it, but always in the bottom of all of these. Oh, I'm noticing that this one, instead of saying the name, it just says hotel. I don't know who did this one. It was at all of these different, a ton of different saturation layers, but the original one is still way down there. So if anyone thinks that that might be them, that they did this one and put the name hotel on it, I won't, it's happened a few days ago, so I won't remember, but if anyone remembers writing hotel on their file, because no one else wrote hotel on the file, so I'm seeing that if anyone else wrote the word hotel on their file, please go in here and say edit, and then change this to their name. You might remember if you wrote the word hotel, because no one else did. Okay. So all of that is going to be non-destructive ways of changing this. There's so many other things we can do to this photo. But now there's a few things that are under the filter category. So let me go up here to top of Photoshop, where it says filter. All of these filters don't have a non-destructive way to do them other than by converting them into smart objects. Like there's bazillions of other things that I could have shown you. I just showed you these because that's kind of as far as we've gone. But they all have different ways of being converted into smart objects, except for filters. Now, what are filters? There's so many I can't even begin to explain, but let me, without you doing it yet, watch. I'm gonna grab any one of these. I'm gonna grab, I don't know, Pixelate, Crystallite, anyone, there's a bazillion. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm exaggerating it, and I'm gonna say, okay, boom. That's an example of a filter. It completely changes our image into something very different. I'm gonna undo that. That would be kind of like artsy if you want, right? But then there's other filters that are really useful, like how to sharpen an image, right? So it's still considered a filter. Anything under the word filter over here can be really useful or fanciful, let's say. There's some that we use all the time, all the sharpens, the blurs, those kind of things we use a lot. And then there's, as I said, things like solar eyes, right? Artsy. Let's call them artsy. But notice that when I do them, it happens in a destructive fashion, all of them. So, and then these are some much more advanced filters, and then these are the new neural filters, which are artificial intelligence. So the basic ones I showed you at first are not even touching the touching the surface of what we have, we can do. But all of them are destructive, unless at the very top of filter, the first thing we see is convert for smart filters. Now, why smart filters? Because when you click on that, it says to re-enable smart filters, the lecture will be converted into a smart object. So why didn't they just call it convert to smart object? I don't know, because basically you're converting into a smart object just because it's under the filters. So I'm going to say okay to that, and there you go. It turned into a smart object. It just is to make it confusing, because basically they could have just said convert to smart object. I'm going to undo that. So anytime you can use any filter, the first thing we do is we convert for smart filters. So everyone go to this thing and convert for smart filters. It'll warn you, da, 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 and say, okay. And there you go. Now we have a smart object. And Barb, if for chance you still don't have the files, you can do this with any of your own file. But yeah, I see your
Oh,
hand.
no, I've got him. I just, wondered, why you didn't open it in, oh, I just had it and closed that one. Hang on 1 second.
Open it in RAW, maybe you're saying?
Yeah, now, yeah, open it in RAW.
Well, this, right now I haven't taught this group RAW and,
Oh, okay, I'll be quiet and watch this. I'm sorry.
well, it's a JPEG anyway, so it wouldn't normally be in RAW. So, and you wouldn't find these filters in RAW. So there's a couple different reasons. I haven't, for those of you who might know what I'm talking about, there's a tool called RAW processing that I'm not going to show you until next class that you can process images in. But the reason there's a bit of a confusion, it's for images that have been shot as RAW originally. You can also apply it to JPEGs, but notice that one of the filters here is called Camera Raw filter. So
Okay,
use it outside of a filter mode, which is what she was asking about. And then it's always non-destructive. But it so happens that you can also use it as a filter. And so might talk a little bit about Camera Raw here within this as a filter, okay? But for now, just convert it into a smart object. So did you do that? Because otherwise, anything we do next will be destructive, unfixable, okay? So once you have that done there, now, yeah, let's go and apply one of these bizarre-ish ones. Let's go to stylize, for example, and let's choose oil paint. And then you'll get, I mean, choose any of those on the bottom, not any, because some are different. And then here, I'm gonna play around with this and it shows you a little bit of how this is gonna look. If you want to preview it on your image, watch. There's this little thing that you need to turn on because these are the old ones. This is how it used to be. They haven't changed. Turn the preview on. Then you begin to see how these flowers would look. And then you can add it and make it bigger or smaller, more intense, less intense, yeah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You change these things out until you finally get what you want. And then when you say, okay, so do some changes. It doesn't need to be, it doesn't matter what changes you do. Just, you can play with it later to get more funky and more fun. Just now, as long as you can tell that there's a difference, say, okay, because on at the distance, you might not be able to tell so much that mine is different. The crystallize that I had done before showed up a bit better. Okay, did everyone say okay to that? Right, Linda say okay, Manuel say okay. I don't want specific, I don't want to make a perfect oil painting. Say okay to that and put the top and have it done. And now look at my layers. What happened with this is since it was protected by being a smart object, it went down here. And this is what is a white box usually been for us up until now. A mask. This is a mask. And then down here it says oil paint. If you guys used oil paint, there it is.
Oh, I love what I got. I always learn so much from you.
Say that I want to change this and I want to make the oil paint stronger effect, less effect. I can just double click on the word oil paint right there, just on the actual words. And it opens up again. And now I can change it to something more, less, whatever, you know, you can keep working on it. And now I'm going to make it really extreme. So it's a bit more obvious. And I'm saying, okay, so now I've kind of distorted. It doesn't really look like an oil paint. It looks like a bizarre thing, but I just wanted to show you that it truly has changed and it's editable because if I turn this little eyeball that's right next to the word oil paint off, yay, I still have my original images. It's non-destructive and editable, meaning I can open it up and keep changing it. Okay. Is that good? Everyone has that? Okay. Now, as much as adjustment layers that we did before that go on top of each other affect each other. So if you made something pink and then you put another on top and you made it green, it's really adding the green and the pink together, you might get purple. I don't know. So they affect each other. Same with these. If I were to add another filter, so now let's go and add another one. Let's go to something, I don't know, I'm gonna go this time to I don't know, something that'd be really obvious. I'm gonna go with tiles because it's very obvious. And say okay to that. And I've got it broken up into something really bizarre. Is it really obvious? Yeah. And see how it still looks like that oil painting and the tiles put together? And then I can turn the eyeball off of oil paint and I still have the tiles affecting it. I turn on the oil paint and I turn off the tiles, and so these two are adding up to each other, yeah? I'm gonna go ahead and put in one more, and then we're gonna get rid of these. I'm gonna do the distort, which is really bizarre. I'm gonna say ripple. Although the ripple with this ripple, there we go. So now it's all ripple. So I had 3 different filters down there doing some weird stuff to my images, okay? And you can go over here, turn the eyeballs off on the rest, and all I have is ripples. Turn on the oil paint, and I have oil painty ripples, turn on the tile. So, and it doesn't matter that you did ripples, whichever you did. They all affect each other. And hopefully you have ended up with an image that is looking quite different. So whatever you did really has affected it. There's some that make it so different that you wouldn't even go there. You just walk around and make sure and see. Filter. Not the same one, I mean the same one. You already did, so cancel out of that. I don't want you to make a different one, I want you to do the same one. For the filter. Or. Right, and distort and then use one of them.
Get info.
So that one.
Well, that's not it either.
And then bigger, no, I just said that.
Where did that screenshot go?
It's not so easy to see, but if this were like the sky, suddenly it would be like, it's not very
That's that one.
okay, so is everyone there? You made enough little filters that they're all piling up on each other? So watch for a second now. I told you this is a mask. Well, these filters don't have individual masks. Watch. I'm gonna select the mask, good old brush, you know, remember how you affect a mask, go to the brush, you put the opposite color, in this case, black. I'm gonna make it be a big brush. Sorry. Big mask. It's stuck, big brush. And if I just paint black, gonna make a hole, and suddenly the middle is not affected. I should have an example that's much here. Let me add another filter that's much more intense so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. I'm going to crystallize. That one goes crazy. There we go. So you can see how I have completely distorted this image that doesn't even look like that image. But if I try to get into that mask and do something, then underneath I will see my original image. See that? So it is a mask. Thing is, it cuts through all of the effects because it's above all of them. So you can't say, well, I want a bit less of the crystallize, a bit more of the ripple, a bit less of the tiles, more of it. Does that make sense? It's an all over mask. So if you use a lot of different filters, there might be a bit of a question of how useful they are. That said, you could minimize their effect doing that stuff. But anyway, for now, let's just turn all these eyeballs off as if none of them is working. Let me actually go back to painting white. Let's get rid of this mask because I'm going to show you some other stuff. So I'm going to paint white again over the whole mask so that I have, this is back to white. Okay. And if you can't see it, then turn on your thing again so that you can see what it takes it. So now we've we've just turned them off. They're not gone, but we've turned them off. By the way, since we don't want to lose all this, and sometimes if the computer's old, this might crash because what we're going to do next is one that has a bit more power. Let's go ahead and save this. And it has to be saved as a PSD because now we've added a lot of layers. Filters are still layers. So I'm going to go ahead and say dash smart filters. So save. By the way, did we ever save the other file that we were working? Yeah, we had called it smart object. Okay. Have so many different things here. Okay, so we did this one, the smart filters. Okay, so now watch. I'm going to go back up here to filter. And those are all individual ones. As I said, there's some that are really useful. The blurs is more like a technical kind of thing. Blur, gallery, distort, noise, sharpen. But we played around with the funky ones, right? Now, up on top in the second set, this little set, there's a thing called filter gallery. So let's click on filter gallery. And this one, interestingly enough, let me actually move this down because Zoom is in the way. You can't see all the parts. There we go. Filter gallery is kind of like all those funky things put in one. So go ahead and watch my screen for a minute. Oh, you know what? If you have a blank there, Linda, you might have turned the filter on by selecting the mask. Say cancel and go back and select make sure that you're selecting your layer.
Manzi.
Not the mask, but like the, oh, you were. And go ahead and do filter gallery because it's in your image there. Okay, there we go. If anyone sees white over here, it's possible that you were still selecting your mask, right? So go back and select your pixels again. All right, back to filter gallery. And this is a bit of everything we just did all in once and more. So say that I open my artistic ones and I start clicking on this. It's kind of, this is an image that isn't so good because we have so much white that you only see the effect on the flowers. But anyway, you can turn these into different art kind of thingies, and then you can modify them here on the right with more details. So this is a thing called rough pastels, and then I can go over here and make them be like longer strokes or stroke detail. I'm really affecting it. And watch, over there it says rough pastels. Watch for a second. Now say that I want to add sketch. And I add graphic pen. It shifted. And now I say I want to go to halftone. It shifted, like it doesn't keep them all. This is completely overriding the first choices, right? And then this, what's this one? Bas relief, chalk and whatever. And then if you go to these distort or stylize, those are the same ones we found before in the store. You'll have things like, well, not the same, but glass circle. There's a stained glass, which is similar to the tiles. Each time it changes. All right, now watch. If I don't want it to change, say that I like the colored pencil first. I want to add to that something. I can go over here in this little plus sign and say plus. And then that one I'll turn into stained glass. For example, stained glass overtakes everything, crackle. So now these are both working. I'm going to add another one and I'm going to say watercolor, for example. By now it's going crazy, right? Plastic wrap, three are affecting each other. So these are all affecting each other. One thing I forgot to say, each one of these, you can go over here and say, well, I want less crackle, more crackle, or whatever crackle I want, right? So these are all affecting each other individually, kind of like the others were, and the layers are happening here. Go ahead and apply one or two different ones, one or three different ones, whichever. And by the time you're done, again, don't get too crazy about it. This is just showing you can play around with it on your own. And then let's say okay at the very top. Okay, let me just say okay and show you, and then I'll go down. Notice that the others turned into 4 different files. This one is one filter gallery. As opposed to 4 different ones, when I double click on filter gallery, I've just applied those 3 as one filter. Much more efficient. Okay, so I turned these off. Oh, you didn't save yet, so go ahead and save. I'll save.
Hmm.
I just added smart object, smart building. Doesn't matter since it's a PSD, it wouldn't override, but just so we. Okay, and now go up to filter again, this time do filter. And you can open some of these and just choose this for choose one. And when you choose another, it overrides. Right? So the only way to not override it is to do that. Okay, thank you. So, and now some of you guys can spend hours and make some awesome things. Some people think it's not art, some people think it's art. I'm not here to argue or discuss whether this is correct or not, just showing you the tools of Photoshop. But what I'm saying is it's again editable and effective as many in one, so to say. And that when you say okay, you get one filter instead of all those 5. Yeah, Barb, your hand is up.
No, I figured it out. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Oh, okay. And some of these are much more intense. I'm seeing over there, Manuel has this, the find edges, for example, that kind of overrides over anything else. This is kind of funky and whatever, you get some cool effects. But once again, if I were to use that mask, then it would be to all at once. Okay, so that mask, I think it kind of feels to me like it's there for show. Doesn't really seem to work too much. There's a way to make each one have a mask, but it's groups and it's complicated. So anyway, but you can do it. Okay, so now that's my change. Now the difference is that this thumbnail does look changed. As opposed to when it was, where was it? This one that when you change it, the adjustment layers, the bottom one still looks the same color. In this case, the thumbnail looks changed. Okay. Now let's go ahead and save. I'll save, and then you guys can keep playing. Oh, and by the way, if I were to now on top of that, turn these others on, right? These affect it too, right? So it's not like you're done with one, but since these were all done before, it kind of doesn't make sense to this one, but yeah. Now, if you don't want one of these anymore, say that you don't want the ripple effect anymore, whatever. And you can right click on it and delete that one. Okay. So say I don't want the ripple one, I can say delete smart filter. Okay. Of the 4s that I had added at the beginning. So that's how you would edit them. All right. So everyone go ahead and let's say okay, wherever it is that you're at, let's say okay to this. And that's what you end up with. Okay. Interestingly enough, this time it didn't change my.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. Before it did, this time it's letting my. Before it changed here. But anyway, let's say okay. We said save to this. And now let's close it. Screenshot of all these other filters back there, all the filters. So whatever we ended up with, plus all these filters. Okay. But then let's close it. After you've got your screenshot, let's close it. All these filters take up school, computer resources, and I'm trying to show you some other stuff. Can I help you? Barb? I heard you say you're lost.
I'm okay. I'm mumbling. I'm going to turn my sound off.
Okay. So anyway, after you do your screenshot, go ahead and we're gonna close this file. I'll go ahead and add this one. If you have a second, but here we go. Diana, and we'll call this one Smart Filters. Convert to smart filters, so the effects remain editable, non-destructive. Okay, upload. Okay, so anyway, it's okay. You don't necessarily have to put that one up right now. You can put it a little bit later. I just wanted to not forget that we did this. Now let's close this file. So it's going to save itself in this shape. Okay. And then I'm actually going to close the pineapple one because I need to get a few things less opened up. Okay. So let's go back to Bridge then. And notice that now I have two, because one is a layered file and was the original. So let's open the original again, the JPEG. So we can start kind of from scratch, so to say. Okay. And then now let's go up to where it says filter. And notice that under filter, I have all these names here, even though the file is closed. I have a new file, but the computer remembers the last, I don't know how many, I think up to 6. I don't know when it would stop. The last filters that I used in their settings. So say that I use the filter gallery right now, it's going to apply everything I did in the filter gallery. But since I didn't convert it to smart filter, it just applies it, but I don't have to open and do it all again. This kind of helps in case you're opening many files and you need to apply the same effect to a lot of them, because then it's just there, right? And you don't have to write down the notes. But other than that, just to see why it's growing before we can convert for smart filters. Right, so let's go ahead and convert for smart filters again. And now I'm going to show you a different set of filters. Those were all, if you want, quirky, good or bad. There's the camera. I'm going to wait for another day because it's very intricate on its own. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you these. And the neural filters are something that's new at this point from when did they start? 2022 or maybe even 2020. They're relatively new. And each version that comes up, they come up with new ones. So let's open this up. This is the first time. They didn't call it artificial intelligence at that point. They called it machine learning, which is the very beginnings of having the computer do stuff for you. So welcome to Neural Filters. If you want to just say, skip tour for now. And over here, you have a bunch of different things that you will see. Some say beta. What they're doing is each time they upgrade Photoshop, at first we had 3 filters here and they said beta. They're testing them out. They want us to test them. If they work and people like them and it works, then they kind of consider it done, and the next version that comes out, that filter stays, and then they add another one. But then the ones that are beta, people don't like them or they don't work well, they don't bring them back. So it's every version of Photoshop, you'll find a couple of different ones, except for the ones that are established that don't say beta. Now notice that they have a little cloud icon-y thingy here next to them, because these don't come inside of Photoshop. If you have a very old or weak computer, you should be careful with these, because this is like adding another little mini application, like a plugin or something to your Photoshop. So when you download them, you can do that. But these neural filters take up a lot of computer resources. So at some point I had already downloaded this one, for example, and it's already there. Let me just show you the one that's kind of funky. Let's go with this one, the style transfer. There's so many ones. Go to the style transfer. Let's click on that little cloud, and it's going to download something. Okay. So now. Look at me when it finishes downloading, just look at me. So when you're comfy that your computer has more space and it works well, you can download more individually. But right now it comes with these three things. Now, what does this mean? These are very famous paintings. If I click on this one here, it's working, it's processing, and it turned my image into something based on this style. You know how now you can, this was before, now we're all in the world of AI that we've seen, that we can say, write this as if I were Hemingway, but this was like mind blowing. What, I don't know, maybe 4 years, I don't know when it started, 4 years ago. I'd have to check and see, when did Neural Filter start? So this is what it comes up with. I can modify things here, just like we did the other filters a bit here and there. I can say one less than another, or I can say, well, let's try in Van Gogh. Click on that, and it does it again. That's Van Gogh version. Or Monet, you know, the water lilies, and there you go. So these are just modifying it, and these are the three that they give you. I kind of really like this one to start with now that I think that I saw it. But there's all these other kind of well-known paintings, if you want, that are available here to use. Now, don't download them all until you make sure that in your computer you can handle them, but that's just an example of what you can do. There's
Where did they go? Like, those are huge files.
um
And you have stuff that's in there.
it's an application that gets added as a program to the Photoshop application. So it's not a big file. What we're doing yet, we haven't saved this file. It's the app that runs that is what takes up some power. But more than the app that runs that, if you have an old computer that's already kind of cranking, quickly, when you start to do these, the Photoshop crashes, right? Bails out, or it freezes or something. So you might want to make sure that you try these different ones when you have you know, nothing important to open, close everything, be safe, and then try them. And if your computer seems to still show that it works, then fine. All right, so those again, if you want, are cute, but they're not necessarily necessary. But let's say that we say yes to this one. And I'm going to head down here to where it says output. Here I can choose to output it as a smart filter. So this is a bit more intelligent instead of having to turn it yet. Or I can just have it be a whole new layer, or I can have it just be a new layer that's masked, that allows me to have or not. When it says layer mask, it just means that I can modify it with a mask. I still go in there and begin to add or take away. Or down at the very bottom, I can save it as a new document. So this becomes a flat new document, right? And I don't really need to affect my other one. For now, let's just say, let's just keep it a smart filter, just to not have to have more complications. I'm going to say okay. And there it is. It shows just like before, like a neural filter, which if I turn up on and off, it'll come back or not. Okay. Now, let's head back up there. Looking at the time. And let's go back. No, let's not head back up there. Let's go back to the
I'm
manage.
sorry, how'd you bring that filter up?
Okay.
That last one?
Yeah, I need to move my Zoom stuff out of the way because I can't reach it. There we go. I went to filter neural filters.
Okay, thank you.
And then in the neural filters, the one that we chose was the style transfer.
Style transfer.
You guys.
Thank you. I got caught up in
So many-
let
let me say the only one that might affect a bit what we just talked about, the whole like transform and resolution, there's one called super zoom. And this super zoom one will allow you to make things bigger, transform up, and do it really intelligently using artificial intelligence, and might let you do a good upsize. Okay, so just try that one at some point. Now, for some, we're going to need a photo. Oh, Rebecca, your hand is up. I just noticed.
Yeah, when I go to change to the neural filters, my smart filters are off, but it's still changing the smart filter picture image. So did I miss a step?
Show me what you mean. I don't understand. When you go to smart filters, what happens?
Okay, here.
Mhm.
And there we go, zoom filters, neuro filters. See, now that's not the picture. That's,
Oh, I had turned, we started on a new file.
oh, okay.
I said cancel, yeah, because it works on whatever is visible. That said, yeah, we closed this one and opened from scratch the JPEG again.
Okay,
So save that one and then open from scratch because yeah, I wanted to clean up and make sure that we didn't have other stuff on top of it because go to Bridge and open the original JPEG. And there it is. Yeah. And then
Okay.
that one, we did the smart filter in. Now, had I not done the smart filter, I could have exported it as a smart filter out of here. Like if I hadn't converted at the beginning, I could have exported a smart filter right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and say cancel or okay, I guess I had said before. And let's go to Bridge and I want to open up this or this guy again, the man against wall. Even though I know we have him up there, we can close the one that where we if you have too many things open by now, you can go to Photoshop and the original man against wall that we had cut him out. You can just close that and it'll say don't save because we don't need him cut out. I mean, we already added him to the other ones. Let's go to Bridge and open him up again. Now, this is a person. Obviously, you don't need to tell me that. But why that matters is because if I now go, and I'm not going to turn it right now. What? Oh, sorry. When someone shares, I need to be reminded to reshare. Okay, sharing again. So I just closed the one where we had cut him out, and I'm going to open from scratch again. Okay, the man against wall. Now, I was saying this guy's a man only because, obvious as it is because some of these filters only work if you have a person. So I'm going to head over to neural filters again. Not to the top one. The top one is going to give me exactly the same effect that I just did. Remember, so it'll turn it into, oh, I meant to say no, and then I clicked on it. So, not bad, right? Undo. I didn't mean to do that. Go over here and let's go to neural filters without converting first for smart filters this time. Just to neural filters. And then see how these, I don't know if you noticed, these were grayed out before. But since now we have a human, and you can zoom in a bit to see his face. Now we have these three that right now, I just wanted to say that if you just had, I'm going to download this one, for example, and you can download one and try it or not, but I'm going to just try Smart Portrait. And this one is kind of freaky as far as I'm concerned or not, but I'm going to try Smart Portrait. And this, someone has something happening, reverb. Oh, there. So watch this one. I can make him be happier. Look, I'm going to go happiness. And it's gonna make this guy kind of smile. It's creepy. But see, this one is taking a long time. I made him this smile. When it does it, I went so much that it's gonna be a bit freaky. See, it changed it so much that it went really freaky. Yeah, I went too much. But let me undo that. Right? Are you excited? There's a no. So oh, let's get that. Undo. But if you just make it do a little bit, so hair thickness, eyes here. This isn't the best photo for this, but let me just have it be facial age. And it's gonna give it like wrinkles. This is not the best photo because he's not really, you know, the glasses and the whatever, but expressions. Surprise, anger, again, I didn't bring much of a, right, and make him a bit angry, but anyway, if you have a straight on image, a straight on portrait, it's freaky what this one does. And it does it, this one does it pretty well. So, yeah, I thought we might be able to get something out of this one, but not really because of how not in front of us it is. But anyway, just have a little bit of a smile. He's just gonna move the mouse up just a teensy bit. Yeah, it still messes it up. I think no matter what I do to this one, it's messing it up. I think this photo is not, yeah. Other photos that he's looking straight at you, they're really great, but I'm noticing that this one is not.
When I do it, I don't get any changes.
Well, go pretty far and you will. I'm gonna, right now, let me just do, even if it looks weird, right? I'm gonna just give it again that bizarre, whatever, facial age, you just do that.
Oh, I got facial age to change.
Look, you got some white hair. Okay, say, never mind what we do, watch. I just wanted to show you that you could go over here and tell it to have it be a smart filter or a new layer as masked, meaning it, how you output it makes it be something that you can have it
Wow.
not affect your original. Now, if I say smart filter, it'll allow me to come back in here and keep changing it. But if I say, for example, new layer and mask, so I'm not gonna say smart filter and I'll say, okay. Then it didn't affect the original one. And what it does is it creates a new layer, and this mask here is different than the mask that we're accustomed to. It's a mask that just does whatever change it's going to be. And you can turn this on and off, right? If I turn this on, those are the changes that it made if you want to see what it did to the original photo. So you need to have both on
Wow,
because,
you can open and shut his mouth.
but you can't go back into the filter and fix it anymore. See what I mean? Versus had I said output as a smart filter, I could have gone, okay, undo, change, do another filter. Okay, so it's a different output that you're gonna do. All right, now I try it with photos that have, I don't know why I usually bring another person here, but I didn't, I thought this would be good enough, but I guess it doesn't do a good job. Anyway, I'm gonna turn that off, say okay, or finish that one up a little bit. Go back up here. Because I want to show you one more thing there. I'm going to go back to the good old neural filters. And don't want to do it right now, but if you have a black and white photo and you use this photo restoration, that one's awesome. So, you know, all those scratches and things and weird stuff that happens, this one works really well. And it's not a freaky, you know, make someone smile that's not smiling. It's actually a useful one. Same with, remember last Monday, we did all those things that gave us what I called JPEG artifacts, the banding and those little squarey thingies. When you open that up in the JPEG artifact removal, it softens and it makes those artifacts disappear a little bit. So these are more useful versus artistic or weird. This one enhances so you can make it bigger than it came, enhances the resolution so that when you try to upsize like we did today, it does a better job of it. Most of these are just, as I said, funky fun. And then these, you can use, so the example here shows you can grab this makeup and transfer it onto there. These are all kind of weird. But these bottom ones are actually really useful. And then you can go over here to the wait list and they have some more that they're playing around with, right? And it gives you an idea and it says, do you want one that is a portrait generator? So this is them asking. And if you say, yeah, I'd love that, it's generating, these are fake portraits, you can say, I'm interested, a water long exposure, you can say, I'm interested. So these are ones they're working on. And if enough people are interested, they work on it. And then the next version, they put it up as a beta. So this is just kind of Photoshop saying, is this something you're interested in? Okay. Now these are kind of cool. I've seen some people practice with these. This one is particular. The shadow generator could be amazing. Because one of the things that's hard to fake right now is the lighting on a subject. And if you want to put this person in that photo, the lights wouldn't match. And so this one, I've seen it demoed, and look at how the lighting has been able to get changed and how you can really create a whole different photo out of that. So that has some particulars. So when you say, I'm interested, then you say why, submit, and that just kind of goes to them. And yeah, stuff that I've seen here then has appeared over here. All right, that's just so you guys can see that. Yeah. Okay, so Barb, your hand is up.
Yes, when
Yeah.
I click
Well,
on
slide it
some
up.
of, when I click on some of the style transfers, they need to download. When you
Yeah.
download them, do they stay there when you bring up another?
Good
Wow.
question. So yes and no. Watch. I'm gonna go back to neural filters just to show this. You don't need to go back. But over here, I used the on the other photo, I used the style transfer. So
Yeah,
now the style transfer is already downloaded, but it's not turned on, like I'm not using it. And if I were to use it to this one, I would have to turn it on and then it would bring it up. But
okay,
it's already in my computer. I don't need to re-download it. So if you do
Right.
that to all of them, like I guess at some point I downloaded the color transfer. So when I do that, then yeah, so the color I'm gonna just have it transfer those colors to that image, or those colors to that image, or I'm gonna go with these colors to that image. So it's a funky one too,
thank you.
and it's fun. But I already had it downloaded from last time, right? So then if I just turn that off, the effect isn't there. Now that said,
Wow,
if
you can create
both of these on
Picassos.
at the same time, then they both do affect each other. So now I have that style transfer and the color added to
Color
that.
transfer.
I'm gonna cancel that, but yeah. So
Very
once you download it,
cool.
it stays in your computer, right? So then you have to turn it on. Okay. Last one of these kind of effects. I'm gonna head down to, and this one is good to do with a person. I'm gonna head over to Liquify. Liquify. Okay. This one has been around for a long time, but a long time. So it's not a new, like the neural filters Liquify. You have to do it yourself, but it's also progressed incredibly. And this one is also, again, not the best photo, but yeah, God, do I have another person? I usually bring more people. Do I not have any other people? Because it's definitely not, it's so weird. I usually have people in my images. No, okay, I really didn't bring another person, so we're gonna keep going with this one. All right, so this, if you had a better picture and you say face aware, you open this one up, you can then go, and the best thing we can do right now is mouth, right? So I'm gonna go to the mouth. And over here is where I can say, maybe open the mouth. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, let me see. Upper lip, make it go up a little bit more. It increased the thickness, so he has pretty, let me go zoom in to the face. He has some pretty whitish lips. So I'm gonna go ahead to the upper lip and I'm gonna tell it to make it thinner lips. Hello? Oh, no faces detected. That's the problem. It's not seeing it. I need to select the face and tell it it's a face. Hold on. It's not using the face aware. It's not a good sample. I don't have any other photos on this computer to show you. This is much more intelligent. The other one kind of did whatever it did, but this one's much more intelligent. You can actually have them open their mouth a little bit, close their mouth, have the nose be a little bit wider, a little bit smaller, have the eyes slant up or down without it looking so fake and freaky. But it needs to first recognize the face, but it's not recognizing the face because I guess the position says no face selected. Yeah, so I'm not able to do that much, but But what you can do with this, which is how it started, you can go ahead and use some of these tools by hand to make it, let me see, face tool. No, faces are detected. Yeah, it's not. Okay, I give up. This is so weird. I don't want to spend much more time with something I can't show. And shoot. Now I kind of, come on. It's not letting me cancel out. Come on, please. I think I'm crashing. I can't close it. I tried to do too much to it. Let me stop my share because that lets my computer think a bit better. There we go. Now I was able to cancel that. Okay, sorry, I have to resume that. All right, forget about it. Whenever I show these, it's always really like, whoa, that's great. And then I have the worst image to show it with. So try it out. Now, so does anyone here who's here in person have? Oh, there you go. You're downloading a photo. Good idea. Does anyone here have, yeah, I could have Photoshop at home that you can play with it? Okay, otherwise, remember, you have an explanation of how to use VDI so that you can play around with these things at home, even if you don't have it. Because yeah, it would be pretty cool. So and just downloading from the internet a photo, which is a great idea, and then you can do all this with that. All right.
It works because that's percent in the iPad.
Photoshop exists on the iPad, but it's a different version.
So, but to use the video. I think it works.
Yes.
But it would be-
VDI, as long as you have to go to a browser.
Yeah.
And sign in, and depending on if it's a newer iPad that's a bit powerful, whatever, you should try it. I think it should work, yeah. Except for, of course, you handle it without a mouse or whatever, but yeah. Yeah, Barbara, you're gonna play with this. Yeah, it's kind of fun stuff to play. Okay. So right now, forget about that. I'm looking at what time is left because I was gonna spend some time on this, but now, where are we at? I always get confused. We still have. I keep thinking that the class finishes at 8:45. It's 8:35 that it finishes. Is that true? I keep thinking I have 20 minutes and I only have 8. I did this last time too, right? My brain just takes me to 8:45. I don't know why. Suddenly I'm like, up against. Okay, so she's trying it with a face. Is it working? Yeah, let's go over, look at her for a minute because she downloaded a photo and it's pretty cool to see it working. Now there she's like frowning, making her lips go down. I'm gonna, but anyway, you can play around with yourself. I don't want to do that. I don't have time to show you the libraries, so I'm trying to think of the things I wanted to show you. Okay, so within the next 7 minutes, I'm gonna show you a completely different tool. Go to Bridge and let's open a different photo that I don't have time and how short this class is to teach you in depth, but you can really have some fun playing around with it. Here. Is this your Bridge? No, this is a different version. Here in Bridge. Okay, so go to Essential, click on that little, yeah, and say reset. There. Right, so now over here. Let's go back to this one. I'm going to show you really quickly an example of doing working on a raw file. I'll tell you more what a raw file is later, but trust me, this is a raw file. Okay, so this one that's like a coffee cup. So just maybe I'm going to just show you this because I can tell with the next 2 days that I have, I'll have to do some other stuff and I won't really have much time to spend too much in here. But I'm going to demo this and then I'm going to show it to you again. So just demo now and then I'll show it to you. I opened this thing that's a raw file and it's a tool that, stop it. It's telling me that it's about time. I'm having trouble. I'm getting again. Like before, it's not. Let me stop my share, see if it helps. When I'm sharing my screen, it just goes blank. Let me try to share again. I think I'm pushing my computer with all the stuff that it can do. Okay, so here we go. The raw engine is really powerful. I spend much more time in this in my Photoshop classes for those of you who are wondering, but it's a tool that allows me to do a bunch of stuff in one instead of so many adjustment layers and this and that. Especially if I want to go global changes instead of individual changes, like I want, this color to be that and that color to be that, then it's amazing because using this one tool, so it has all these choices. So say I go over here to the light and I want the whole thing to be exposed higher or lower. See, I don't have to do an adjustment layer, which is what we had to do before. Or if I want to go to the colors and there's that changing the, like what we did before with hue saturation, right? Changing the colors. It's here and I'm just doing bizarre colors right now, but it's all in one. I can make the shadows higher, the things that, the reason I'm not showing it to you here is I'm about to show it to you in a different place. This works if this is I'm going to cancel. If this is, say, canceled, change all this, yeah. This works kind of in between Bridge and Photoshop. So if I open a file that is a raw file, which many of you guys don't have, and I open it from here, it opens in this thing called raw. And when I'm done fixing it, say that I do that and turn it into black and white, there we go, that's very changed. Then I can open it in Photoshop. And here it is. Now it's open in Photoshop. I left the raw, but it opened just as a regular photo. I'm going to close that and say don't save. And if I'm in Bridge, I'm going to do the same thing again, open it in raw. I can also open it as a smart object. It's just called object here, open as object. So if I do that, it opens in Photoshop now. Come on. Wow, it goes gray and it doesn't, I keep having to stop my share for it to work. I'm going to open it again as object and then I'm going to share. Okay, I'm going to share again. Nothing worse. I have 2 more things to show you and then we can play upon that later. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but it opened in Photoshop, see, as an smart object already, right? So if I double click and want to work on this one though, it opens in raw again. So I can now keep playing and working with it. And now say, no, I don't want it to be black and white. I go back to making it be a color image. And I say, okay, again. And now it's not, my Photoshop is doing crazy. Okay, so that's if you work with a thing that's already a raw file. Now, back to this guy. Look, filter, camera raw filter right there inside of Photoshop for any old photo that I want. That's why I wasn't stopping to show it. I was showing all of that, which is wonderful raw files you have right in here in Photoshop for any image. So I'm going to now say, yes, convert for smart filters first, for sure. And then I'm going to say camera raw filter. And now I can do all that stuff in one inside of Photoshop as a filter. The other filters were funky and fun and exciting and bizarre and useful. But this one is actually like 100% a tool that you do want to learn and know how to use. Because then we can modify things here. There's nothing really wrong with this image, so it's hard to say that we need to fix it, but we could change it a little bit, maybe make the lights. So look at my screen. You can see it's a black t-shirt there, but if I make my blacks a little bit lighter or my shadows a bit lighter, you can see the wrinkles on the t-shirt better. In fact, I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the past, before I did this, this was one big like mass of black, like I couldn't see his hair. But if I actually bring up the shadows, I can actually see now that he actually did have hair there and a hat, right? So meaning there's just things that you can do and change. So now I've got, let's say I move the whites around and change the highlights and stuff like that. Now it's there. So this is before and after. So watch my screen. Before and after, before and after. So I'm just able to see more detail. That's just one of the things that can happen here. This isn't like trickery now. This is truly just about, this is, if you use Lightroom, these are all the tools I use in Lightroom to process a photo, okay? It's exactly the same. This is all you can do in Lightroom. In Photoshop, you can do this and much more, but this is exactly what you can do if you use Lightroom, where in one place, you change a bunch of stuff. If I have time towards the end of the series of classes to spend a little bit more time in this raw engine, because it's so powerful, I'll do that. But this doesn't apply specifically to web, so it's not specifically something that I have in here. It's more about processing photos, right? So it's not really something that's in our. Okay, that's telling me that it's 8:35. If you need to go, save and go. I'm gonna sit here and help Manuel again. But yeah, if you say okay to this and save that, then it shows up as a filter. And as long as you turn it into a camera raw filter, then you can double click and keep, affecting this all you want and change it until you're happy with it. And many times that saves you from a ton of different adjustment layers. And then you leave Photoshop for what it does best, collaging and cutting out and merging and blending and focused masks or retouching, like taking out the guy's earring or whatever, okay? What's that?
You need a screenshot?
I showed it to you so fast. If you want to open this up and just do a little screenshot of raw. But as long as you got raw filters and stuff, I don't feel like I really taught you camera raw. I just showed it to you. So yeah, I'm fine if you do or not. Give me a screenshot of that. But sure, I'll go ahead and put one in so that I remember that I at least gently began to show it to you. Yeah. Okay, so I'll see you on Monday. Okay. Yeah, I went up and treated it as a filter. I went to filter. First, I did turn it into a smart filter though, because otherwise this one doesn't create its own smart filter. Only the neural filters let you do that. The rest you have to first turn filter and then camera raw.
Got it. Finally.
Just spent a little more time in camera raw than in filters, but that's okay. Mainly it was about teaching you about all of the options and things you can do once you do have a smart object. All right. So let's go ahead and close this out. I'm closing everything up. All right.
That was a really great class tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, could not complete a camera filter because of a program error. But it's possible that it's because we did so many different things at once that it kind of like if you were to not have any other files open and just open a file and try to do the camera raw filter, it would probably work. But if you've been leaving things open like I have and hanging it and that kind of stuff, yeah, my computer is actually fast and it still was hanging with Zoom. So when you turn Zoom off, when you close other files and open up just one file to do the camera filter, hopefully then tell me later, see if it worked at that point, okay?
I kept getting messages about Windows, too many Windows, Barbara.
Yeah, you gotta close any other applications that you have running, like say, okay, I'm gonna use Photoshop at its most powerful and turn anything else you have on, off. Then you might be able to work with it, okay?
I have a couple photos I want to take and what I'll do is I call it morphing. I'll morph it and I'll do a screenshot of what I did. And I'll do several of those of the same photograph. And then put them in one big format and print it so I can go back and look at it. I posted one screenshot that had the different, what were they, filters that I had used, I think.
Okay,
It's better than me trying to explain it.
I'll just look at that. I need to help, Manuel brought his computers here and I need to go home at some point. And so I need to help him with installing his Photoshop. So I'm gonna go ahead and, if you guys at home don't have any other questions, I'm gonna close it up and I'm gonna go help him so that I get home at some not too ridiculous amount of time.
Thanks,
right.
I'll leave.
You guys, bye. Bye, Bud. Tell me later if it worked that once you turn everything off, if you can get around to doing the
I
camera.
will.
Well, Bud had the same problem. Right, bye.